jump right on into the announcements. The love offering today that we took up was $12.68 or 86. It was one of them, but it was pretty good. I mean, that was big time. The church really stepped up, and I'm grateful for it. And now we're just gonna get the work done and pay the bill. $12.68 was the love offering this morning. Sunday school, $250, $260. Sunday school collection this morning went to Children's Miracle Network, and it was $260, and that will be given. Most of the time we'll talk about it in the pre-announcements of the first thing before Sunday school, but I didn't hear anything about it, but that was done. $260 were given in Rosa Sharon's name, right? All right, let's see here. Youth meetings are going on. Monday, 7 p.m., Sounds of Praise practice. 5:30, Layman's League. Leaving the parking lot on the van, going to Greenville first for a quarterly business meeting. Wednesday night, 5:30, Supper Team 3, fried chicken and the fixins. 7 p.m. Bible study. Caleb, that's got changed. Esther's going to be doing our Bible study. It conflicted with a work schedule, and Esther and Caleb switched places. So that will be Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Bible study. Esther Ingalls will be doing that, giving the devotional, and the youth meetings will be going on as usual. Thursday, 7 p.m. Women's Auxiliary meets. Upcoming Sunday, June 10th, will be graduation Sunday. If you know somebody who's got a graduate son here and they weren't here today, or a daughter, please let them know that Sunday will be graduation Sunday. Also, Sunday evening will be a night of worship through song. And when I said something about the good old boys for Christ this morning, I threw some people off. That's Timmy and Justin and that crew. They thought we were bringing somebody outside of church in, but we're not. It's going to be the praise band and the good old boys for Christ, which I added the full Christ this morning. And what's Justin's wife's name? Catherine. She said she liked it, so I went with it. So that's what we're going to be having next Sunday evening. We're looking forward to that. It's something a little different. We threw a little, just something different in it. Thursday, June 14th, Eastern North Carolina Veterans Benefits Update. That'll be 7:30 to 1 o'clock at Moortalk Park. Saturday, June 16th, 6 p.m., Marlboro Family Life Center presents a celebration of Freedom Dinner Theater. Menu: barbecue chicken, potatoes, green beans, and in the bulletin it's got a number to call for reservations. It's in Farmville. Yes, ma'am. Please read. Okay. This was a thank you note. It says, "Thank you so much for the ramp. It has been it's such a huge help in my rehabilitation. All your thoughts and prayers, Katrina Williams." And have I left out any announcements? All right. With that, we'll jump right into prayer time. Is Joe here? I thought I saw him walk in. Joe. Did you ask to add Dylan Whitaker to the prayer list this morning? Okay, thank you. All right. So Dylan Whitaker was mentioned this morning. Laura Robertson, Francis Peed, Emma Bailey, Miss Jeanette Wynn, also Mickey Roebuck. He was planning to come home this weekend. They gave him some new meds. They wanted to see how his body was going to react to the meds, so he's not coming home right now. Please remember him. Also, Joe Harrison. Yes, ma'am. They were real swollen. Yeah, she mentioned something to me about that this morning. I didn't quite understand it. So, okay. All right. Joe Harrison, his cancer has come back, and this is very aggressive. These people were mentioned this morning, and I know you had some. We spoke about you Wednesday night going to Duke. You want to fill us in on that, the updates? Okay. All right. Anybody else? Ernest. The good Lord knows, don't he? Amy Sloan.
I'll be traveling to Ministers Conference next Sunday.
Adam will be traveling to Mentor's Conference today. Wow. Also, our new pastor, he'll be traveling to Israel June 7th and coming back. No, it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then he comes straight back for his little brother's wedding, and then comes to Crackmount with us for a couple days for camp. They got a full few weeks here.
Yeah, pray for safe travels for him especially. Yeah. Mitch Harrison. I know that then the update on him was encouraging. Okay. Anybody else? Pete Colfer? Okay. Anybody else? I know our sister church down the road, Piney Grove, she's still looking a pastor. Need prayers. We know how that is. Anybody else? Brother Terry, how about opening us up with prayer?
Our Father, Lord in heaven, we thank you for all the wonderful things you do for us. We thank you for every life itself. So we come to you with beautiful facility with such heavy hearts. We ask you, Lord, the ones that have been mentioned, Lord, we know you know each need, Lord, for we know that you are aware of even one sparrow that falls from the hairs on our head. But we know that you care that much about your creation. So we come as only we can, with our hearts heavy, Lord, and grieved in many cases.
grateful for you doing it.
Good evening. All right. I'd like to thank Curtis Bailey, our deacon chair, for asking Jerry if I would be interested in giving a devotion. Okay, and that was several weeks ago. And Jerry said, "Oh no, I don't think so." He knew really that I'm not one that wants to be front and center. And I'm okay with the choir because I got the back to you. But, a few weeks ago, Curtis encouraged everybody, to give them the opportunity. And I got to thinking about that later on, and I said, you know what? I'm missing an opportunity here. I don't know that I can do it because I'm such a crybaby. I'm going to work really hard on that, and that I'm not going to do that anyway. But like I said, I realized after a couple of weeks that I was missing out on an opportunity to share. And then I said, no, I'm missing out on an opportunity to witness my love for Rose of Sharon Church. And the love that I've come to not just love y'all, but to respect y'all. And I need to take this time to express how I feel. I'd also like to thank our church family for welcoming us and praying for us and loving us. So I decided, well, first of all, tonight, my goal is I hope that there's something that I say tonight that inspires y'all. Even if it's just one, then it'll be worth it. Of me getting up here and getting past this, because I think, unless you're a speaker, and Curtis, I hear you say all the time, I'm nervous, and we're kind of like, oh, it's a piece of cake. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to give a little bit of background. Not everybody knows us, not everybody knows me. So I want to give you just a little bit of background on how we came to Rose of Sharon. In August of 2014, I had a little 9-year-old girl at our farm looked at me one evening. She was taking riding lessons there, and it was Heidi Bailey. And she looked at me and said, Miss Gill, where do you go to church? I'd like to invite you to come to our church. And the way she said it to me, I love my church. Those were her exact words. And it touched me. It just really touched me. And Heidi wasn't talking about, why don't you come to church Sunday? This was on a Tuesday. She wanted me to come Wednesday night, okay? So, yeah. And I went, okay. And then she says, we eat on Wednesday nights. And I'm like, and I'm just sitting there smiling. There was no way that I was going to tell Heidi Bailey, nah, I'm not interested. And I told Jerry, I said, I want to go to church, to Heidi's church Wednesday night. So that's how I came to Rose of Sharon Church. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. A few weeks, we were attending church, and a few weeks later in September, I had a personal tragedy in my family. My beloved baby brother did the unthinkable, and he committed a murder-suicide. And he had a lot of problems. I won't go into all those details, but he did kill his wife, and then he killed himself. It's like something you see on TV. You don't ever think it's going to happen to you. And he and I were very, very close. And I'm going to tell you, I was just beyond devastated. At the wake in Plymouth, I turned and Pastor Hines came through the line. And I introduced him that this is Rose of Sharon's pastor. And I introduced him to my family. And, Bryant, he stepped forward to shake hands, and he said, I'm Gail's pastor. And I looked at him, and y'all know what? It hit me. I had a pastor, and it felt good. And it felt good to have Bryant Hines there. My message today is going to be about faith, hope, and love, and blessings. And I don't have a nice video to show everybody, but I can get props. So, I want to read this verse right here. There are, in the end, 3 things that last: faith, hope, and love. and the greatest of these is love. And I know someone that gave me this card that certainly knows this. It was Karen Hines. This sits on my desk at my home, and it just sits there, and I look at it every single morning. I know that she knows. And it also says on a verse inside, though your heart must hold deep sadness right now, may it also hold the blessings of the love that will always be a part of you. Anyway, so I just wanted to, this is kind of where I got my inspiration, was looking at this card. So many of you know that my daughter had her battle with cancer, and some of you may not. Cancer has changed me for the better. Cancer did not win. My faith is stronger, and I have witnessed and answered prayers and miracles. I want to share my daughter's fight and her never give up attitude, her faith and hope and love for Jesus Christ. And I'd like to tie it in with my personal love and thankfulness for this church, my church family, my choir family, and the hymns that we sing in this church, and not just the hymns, but all the music. It touches me in such a way, and sometimes it just says the things that maybe I can't say, but it's right there. This church has really been a true inspiration for me, to help me get through what has been a very difficult time for me. And I can truly tell y'all this. Before I came to Rose of Sharon, I felt, I knew Jesus, and I believed in the affirmation of faith. And it wasn't until I came to Rose of Sharon that I know what I was lacking. And I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. And I'm going to tell you, later when I realized that, and you become, and you get that relationship with him, you realize how much you're missing, what you're missing. You just are missing so much. And then all of a sudden you realize that you're putting Christ first. You're putting the church first. And you look forward to it. You look forward to those doors opening. And I can truly say, I've never had that in my life except for when I was little, and the church that I attended, that I loved to go. I was in a neighborhood, little church in Nazarene in Plymouth, and I could hear that bell ringing because I walked to church. And I haven't had this since then. So one time I made the comment, Rose of Sharon feels like home to me. And it does. It feels just, and y'all are the people of the church. And like he said today, the people of the church, that's what makes a church. So like I said, I want to share some things about my daughter and her fight and her never give up attitude. And I tied in. And the next thing I'm going to speak on is faith. Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the sign that things not seen are true. My daughter kept her faith the entire time during her battle. I'm going to tell how her cancer came about. First, it was a shock. She had never smoked, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Again, I'd only been going to church here for a short while, but God had a plan, and through Heidi's invitation, he had me right where I needed to be. On Halloween of 2014, my daughter went to Vidant ER and was given the news that they suspected lung cancer that had metastasized to her brain. We were in the ER examination room in total shock, and we were just devastated. I turned around in the ER room, and there was Bryant Hines. I don't know who called him. I don't know anything, but there was Bryant, and he prayed for Pam right then and there. We went out of the room, which Bryant and I did for a while, and I asked him, what am I to do? I was a mess. He said, you begin with prayer, Gail. And I told him, I said, I don't feel worthy to pray. I don't feel worthy to ask for healing for my daughter since I didn't pray daily. And it seemed that I only prayed when I needed something. I was one of those people. And I'm ashamed to say that I was one of those people. He comforted me by telling me that Jesus knows what's in your heart, Gail. He said, and let's start there. And y'all, that's where I began. And I can tell y'all this, what a blessing Bryant Hines was to me. Pam had 12 tumors, 4 in her brain, 1 in her spine, 1 in her liver, 1 in her lung, which was the source, and 5 in her pelvic bones. Radiation on her brain began immediately. What happened, it had metastasized. She was given 6 weeks to live. I asked the doctor, what was he going to do first? His answer was direct. He said, first, we're going to pray. Second, we're going to start radiation on her brain, and we're going to hit it hard because that's what's going to kill her first. So, while I was at Pam's bedside, and Jerry's holding the fort down with those chickens, and he's picking up my slack with the horses, and he's doing all of that. I'm with Pam by her bedside. Jerry came here on a Wednesday night prayer service. I call it the Little Green Church. And Miss Shirley brought a prayer quilt that her son, Ricky, his church, First United Methodist Church in Simpson, had made, and they put it on the altar. And I just wanted to show y'all that this is the prayer quilt that Miss Shirley brought. And these knots represent a prayer for my daughter. And everybody that night, on Wednesday night, came to the altar and tied a knot and said a prayer. On that Thursday night, Miss Shirley, and y'all know she has difficult walking. She did not have a wheelchair. She came, and I don't know how she did it, but she made it up there with Jerry. And she came to my daughter's room, and she put this prayer quilt on my daughter on a Thursday evening, y'all. And she said the most beautiful prayer. Now, Pam at that point was very fatigued. It was all I could do to even get her to open her eyes, barely. So, but I know she knows that she was there because we talked about it later. And she put this quilt on Pam. And like I said, this is very, very special. And also, I've got one more thing to show y'all. I'm frantic. They've been hitting Pam every day with radiation. Oh my gosh, I couldn't get my girl to open up both of her eyes. She would only give me one. I'd say, open your eyes, come on honey, and she'd just open one. And of course I'd sing Popeye the Sailor Man, don't you be Popeye, you give me both. And sang a lot of songs to her, played a lot of music to her. I believe in miracles. Just did a lot of things. I even played Rocky music. I even had YouTube going on, Jimmy Valvano, don't you give up, and so forth. And the prayer quilt on Pam. I called Jerry in a frantic, just bring me my Bible. I got to have my Bible. And he says, okay, where's it at? Where's it at? Oh, Lord, what I did to poor Jerry. It won't just any Bible, y'all. I wanted this Bible. You can see it's old. He said, where is it? I said, oh, Lord, have mercy. I think we've moved several times over the years, or I have, and I said, I think it's in a box in the attic. Jerry went into the attic, y'all, and this is just crazy. The first box he opened, it was on top. And this Bible says, may God bless you as you read this book. Let it be your guide through life. Presented to Gail Askew by Mrs. Ray Brown, Sunday school teacher for faithful attendance, October the 18th, 1959. This was not just my Sunday school teacher, she was our superintendent, and I loved her. Don't ask me why I wanted this Bible. I just had to have it. And kind of crazy, isn't it, that Jerry laid his hands right on it. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the next morning, which was on Friday. the doctor comes in and says, "How are you today, Pam?" And I'm standing there just down and out and sad. And he put his hand on her shoulder, and we have that I have that quilt right there on her. And he put his hand on her. She opened both of her eyes, and she just looked right at him, and she said, "I need a bath." And his eyes got this big, and then she said, "I need to brush my teeth." And he's like got his hands up, and he's starting to clap, and he's doing all this stuff, and he's ordering tests and all this stuff, and I'm going, "What's going on? What's going on?" And he says, "Her tumors are shrinking." And like I said, and they were shrinking. So eventually, after many prayers and many treatments of radiation and cyberknifing, chemo and immunotherapy, all 12 tumors shrunk, and not only did they shrink, they disappeared. They were gone, nothing but scar tissue, y'all. And he said it was a true miracle. He said he has never seen anything like that in his life. And this is the chief of Leo Jenkins Cancer Center to say, "I have never seen anything like this." And they've used Pam's results at the ECU School of Medicine. They've used it at a conference in Japan, several seminars. WITN, WNCT have done documents on her, interviews on her, that she was a true miracle. He also told me that I needed to give thanks to God every single day. He says, you need to get on your knees and give thanks. He says, we just don't see this. And during that time, Pam dedicated her life and witnessed for Christ to everyone she met. Oh, and so did I. Oh, my goodness. We believe that God used Pam to witness the power of prayer, and that miracles still do happen. And, if we had lost Pam when she was first diagnosed, boy, that would have been really, really hard, especially for her children, because she has what's now a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old, which we go back, they would have been 4 and 9, especially for the little 4-year-old. So to have those extra 3 years has been wonderful, and we're very blessed for that. But this past December, around Christmas time, Pam had some shortness of breath, and in early January, we learned it was more serious. And it had returned with a vengeance. It had mutated to her bone marrow and her spinal column fluid, and it was almost everywhere. The doctor gave her, at best, 8 weeks to live. And that was really hard for her to tell me that, but she did. And it's just really hard news. During that week, after the news, Pam shared with me her greatest fears. And we prayed so much about these things. She said, "Mama, I hope I can stay here at the house for as long as possible so we can keep the girls' lives as normal as possible." See, that's Pam, always thinking about others. She said, "I want to be near them, but should there come a time that I become too much of a burden, will you please be strong, and will you help Doug make the right decision?" So that was one. She hoped to be home with her family. Second thing, "Mama, I hope I'm not in a lot of pain. I don't want my girls to see me in a lot of pain. I don't want to be on strong painkillers at that point and just lay there. My girls don't need to see me like this." And again, that's Pam's way, thinking of others. Third, the doctor told me, and this is Pam telling me this, the doctors tell me that there's going to come a day that I won't know y'all. She said, "Sooner than later. And Mom, it breaks my heart to think that I may not know you, that I may not know Doug and my girls. And I know that y'all are going to feel helpless, and there's nothing y'all can do." She said, "Mama, I don't want this." So lastly, Pam said, "I don't want to suffer for weeks and weeks on end, holding on to life, that my family has to see me like this. Oh, Mama, I just pray that I don't suffer. And I pray it for y'all, Mama, because I know how hard it's going to be." And she said, "Mama, I'm ready. Jesus is calling me home." but my girls, oh my girls. So Pam's death was as much a miracle as much as the results were with her cancer. On the night that Pam died, she had a wonderful day having visits with the family. Everybody came. My immediate family, all the cousins. It was a good weekend. Pam passed away at home. No decision had to be made to take her elsewhere. She had not been on any pain pills at all that day. She had been on morphine earlier in the week, but none that day. She even told me, "Mama, I feel so good." As for a day coming that Pam would not know us, that never happened. She told me just a few minutes before she passed, and I'm just talking about a few minutes, "Mama, I love you so much." And all that, her not knowing me, that just never happened. As for giving her 8 weeks best, and a lot of that time would not be good time, my daughter died January 21st, just 9 days after her final diagnosis. She died a very peaceful death with no struggle and not in pain. I want to share my own blessing at this time. About an hour before Pam passed, her breathing had dropped down to 50%. And I didn't know, was this just going to go on for weeks and weeks? Is this the way it was going to go down? She told me several times, "Mama, I want to breathe. It's just so hard." And at that time, I got on my knees by her bedside. And I prayed, and this was just about an hour before she passed. And I just prayed, "Lord, if you can't sustain it up here, and that breathing's going to be down here, and my girl's going to be struggling, Lord, will you take her on home?" I never thought in a million years that I would have. I didn't give up. It's not that we gave up. It's, "Lord, she's ready. Will you take her on home?" About 15 minutes before Pam passed, she said, "Mama, will you pat my back?" And I did. I sat her up. She said, "Will you pat my back?" It made her feel better, obviously. And being a mama, I think y'all can all understand that when you have your arms around your little girl and you're patting her back, it's natural to rock her. And I started rocking my girl. And the next thing I know, I said to her, "You know, I was supposed to direct this song today in church, but, I wasn't there today." I said, "I'm going to sing it to you now." And y'all, I sang, "I Stand in Awe of You." Now, I had only practiced that song with the choir, 2 or 3 times maybe? Maybe about 3 times. I knew that song word for word. And I sang that to my girl. And I just want to say, after I sang it to her, she said, "That's some good stuff, Mama." And I think that's a moment that I will always treasure, that I was able to hold her, I was able to rock her, and I was able to sing to her. And that was just a blessing, y'all. And like I said, it wasn't planned, that song wasn't planned, but it was just so perfect. And shortly thereafter, when I laid her back down, I saw a change come over Pam. I said, "I'm going to be right back. Right back." And she looked at me, and that's when she said, "Mama, I love you so much." I said, "I know you do, but I love you more." And I went and got Jerry and Doug and the hospice nurse, and we came in there, and then we knew that Pam was passing and she was leaving us. So we went and got her little girls, and we all put our arms around Pam, and we kissed her, and we told her how much we loved her. And y'all, she just went straight from our arms. She went straight to Jesus' arms. I know this. Everything that Pam had wanted, everything that she prayed about, everything that she had faith in and that she hoped for, they were all answered. Every single one of them. Golly. And I just feel so blessed over that, y'all. She kept the faith. Everything she hoped for happened, and the doctors again were astounded. I went and visited with them and sat and we talked about the last week. And I talked to them about her love for Jesus Christ and her faith, and they were astounded. And again, they told me her death was an absolute miracle. She could have gone on for weeks. It could have been horrible, and it wasn't. It just wasn't. And that's what faith can do, y'all. Now, lastly, I got to share this. I received a blessing here at this church on Mother's Day. I was feeling quite sad that day. And while the offering was being taken up, Bev proceeded to play a song. I knew that song. I could name that tune on 2 notes, y'all. I knew that song. And I went up to her after church was over, and I said, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for playing that song." And she says, "I don't know what you're talking about. What song are you referring to?" And I said, I call it Pam's song. I said, "You played Pam's song." And she said, "Which one?" I said, "You played I Stand in Awe of You." She says, "Gail, that wasn't planned. I just opened the book up." I mean, I think I don't know how many pages are in that hymn book. She opened it up. That song was a gift from heaven, just for me. Now, glad I sit right over there almost on a third pew and nobody could see me because I needed some sedation. Woo, it was some good stuff, y'all. That's something I'll never forget again, like I said. One of the other things that I did not show y'all, and I want to, read it to you. It's in this special book right here. Y'all told me, I told y'all how Jerry held the fort down, and he did, because I was in the hospital with Pam for 3 weeks. And Jerry would work chickens, he would work horses, he was doing everything that Jerry does at home, and also bringing me things. He was still coming up there every day to see Pam, so he was our rock. And he wrote a prayer for Pam while he was going through chicken houses, y'all. And I'm going to read it to y'all. You know that the Bible that I told y'all about right here? When he brought it to me, this prayer was in the Bible. It says, "Heavenly Father, through your Son, Jesus Christ, I humbly come to you, asking that all my many sins be forgiven, so that you may favor in me in my prayers to you. I thank you for your grace that allows me to tell you of my troubles, and the blessings you give me because of my troubles. I pray to you in earnest for my daughter Pam. She has cancer, and I am asking for a healing. These tumors that are in her body have made her very sick, and I ask that they be removed from her body, and that she be made healthy again. I'm asking for this miracle not only for Pam, but also for her family and her many friends that pray fervently for her, so that they may be encouraged and their faith is strengthened. I also pray for this miracle so that the many people who do not know you can see the power of God, and that they may come to know Jesus Christ as their Savior. I pray that this miracle will be used to glorify your name to all people that will hear of this healing. I ask all of these things through the one who saved me, Jesus Christ. Amen." All of that was answered. Every bit of that prayer was answered. And I later had that prayer etched on this glass, and I gave it to Pam at Christmas, and she put it where she washes dishes so she could see it every single day. That's an absolute wonderful prayer. One of the things Pam gave me that Christmas when she was feeling so much better was a nice Shutterfly book, and the front says, "Health is our greatest gift." Of course, it ends with Pam and Jerry working out on the treadmill saying "Triumph." I was so surprised that these pages in this book are the ones that she chose from my Facebook post. That I'm sure there were a lot, but I was asking for a lot of prayers and I was giving updates. But it starts with strength, courage, and faith. And if you'll look, and I don't know if y'all can see this or not, it's her husband, it's Pam, and it's me. When I walked in that room, and there they were, laying together in the hospital bed. That was the first day that she was admitted and she was in there. And I stood there, and I said, I want some of this, because that's some good stuff right there. We just had to wrap our arms around one another. And like I said, it just goes, it's an entire journey of that year of the post. And who knew that she would enjoy not just reading them, but reading the comments and reading about how many prayers had come her way. So Pam did recover, and she was so blessed, and we've been equally blessed. And I think what I wanted to get out of sharing all of that with you this evening was my journey of how faith has made me it's made me a better person. Coming to Rose of Sharon Church and meeting all of you, and y'all had my back. When I was there praying, I know that y'all were here praying. And I had prayer warriors. I can look at Mr. John Albert, my prayer warrior. Miss Shirley Pratt, who I called on many a time. And I remember the day that I was headed to Pam's after she had passed. And it was my first time going to her house to take care of the children. And I was struggling on the way, and I was having a meltdown. I call it a meltdown, and I called Miss Shirley. And Miss Shirley talked me right through it, and she prayed for me. And like I said, I know so many of y'all have thought of us and prayed for us. And I'm hoping that y'all realize that just when you're down and out, you've got others that care about you. I know they care about you right here at this church. But if you're one of those that keeps things to yourself, then Jesus is the way. He's the answer. Anybody that thinks that Jesus doesn't listen, he listens. And like Bryant Hines says, he knows what's in your heart. And that's where I began, right there with my prayer. And cancer has made me a better person. And I thank all of you for listening to me tonight. And I hope that y'all got a little something from it, not just about cancer, but about, fighting that good fight, not giving up. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. And I thank you, Curtis, for letting me come before everybody. And like I said, Rose of Sharon means a lot to me. And there you are, over there in the corner. Bev, your songs. Want that something? I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I'll probably tell it to everybody I see. But I do. That was one Mother's Day gift that I'll never forget. So with that, I'm done.